Good morning, 7th grade. Hair still a mess after having cleaned the room. Watched the 7th grade history video. It don't make sense. But at least I've cooled down a little bit. We are finishing up Joseph. I think we're actually going to finish him up before Friday, so it's going to be a short Bible week. Because I want to start Life of Christ on a Monday. So we had just read... before all this virtual hit, back before Thanksgiving, we had just read about Jacob, gotta get all my J's correct, Jacob adopting Joseph's sons, and which just basically means that they're now in the line of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob's 12 sons to get all the promises and the blessings that were given from God to Abraham, and there's going to be in that line passed on down. Even though they've always lived in Egypt and have an Egyptian mother. And then he also blesses / curses / reminds the other sons of exactly what they have done or are going to do in the future, what life is going to look like for their tribe. Because remember, these people become the 12 tribes of Israel. Even though Manasseh and Ephraim, Joseph's sons, are actually considered half tribes. But when it comes to dividing up land, it still ends up being the 12 tribes because the Levites don't get any land because they're scattered among all the tribes because they're the priests. And you don't want all your priests clumped in one spot. You want them spread out. So they don't get any land of their own. Everybody else does, so it still ends up being 12 tribes. Kind of confusing, but I think you get the gist there. So now, after all the blessings, that's where we're going to pick up reading. So pause me and get your Bible if you don't have it in front of you. And I'm going to read while you kind of follow along. And I'm going to make some comments. If anything jumps out at you, feel free to post on the wall. Or message me in the up in the corner somewhere of LMS is where you can message me. It's got lines in it. It's like a kind of a rectangular-y thing with the lines. That's message. Or you can post on the class wall. I don't care either way. I'll find it. Try to get back to you. But 49:29 is where we are picking up. Actually, I'm going to backtrack. 49:28. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father said to them when he blessed them, giving each the blessing appropriate to him. Then he gave them these instructions. I am about to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave in the field of Ephron the Hittite, the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre in Canaan, which Abraham bought as a burial place from Ephron the Hittite along with the field. There Abraham and his wife Sarah were buried. There Isaac and his wife Rebekah were buried. And there I buried Leah. Because remember, Rachel died in childbirth when they were on their way back from Laban, from her dad, where they lived for a while until basically Jacob ends up getting chased out because he tricked Laban. Anyway, so Rachel, let me make sure I got it all. Yes, Rachel. Too many J's and R's. Rachel is buried where she died on the way back. But Leah is buried with Abraham and Sarah and Isaac and Rebekah. The field and the cave in it were bought from the Hittites. So basically he's saying, I know I'm getting ready to die. I want at least my body to go back to our homeland, back to the promised land, the land that was the land that was promised to Abraham, and then Isaac, and then to me. When Jacob had finished giving instructions to his sons, he drew his feet up into the bed, breathed his last, and was gathered to his people. Joseph threw himself upon his father, and he wept over him and kissed him. Then Joseph directed the physicians in his service to embalm his father Israel, which was weird. Israelites did not embalm their dead. It was not the custom of the Hebrews or the Israelites, whatever group you want to call them, name you want to call them by, to embalm bodies. However, it is likely that Joseph allowed for the embalming out of respect of the land that he's lived in. Because remember, by this point, he's lived in Egypt a whole lot longer than he ever lived in the Promised Land. So it could be, out of respect for the people that he is living with. Or it could be because he knew that he was going to take his father back to the Promised Land. Remember, this is going to be like a 2-month journey, maybe longer. So, could just be for practical purposes of it being less stinky and disgusting to carry an embalmed body all the way back than a not embalmed body on this very long journey in the Middle East, where it would be very hot and increasing the stinky factor. So the physicians embalmed him, taking a full 40 days, for that was the time required for embalming. That's actually quicker than what we learned when we did our PowerPoints and stuff. For those of you that did it, it could take all the way up to 70 days. But they took the full time, did the full thing. And the Egyptians mourned him for 70 days. That's where we get the 70 days. When the days of mourning had passed, Joseph said to Pharaoh's court, "If I have found favor in your eyes, speak to Pharaoh for me. Tell him, my father made me swear an oath and said, I am about to die. Bury me in the tomb I dug for myself in the land of Canaan. Now let me go and bury my father, then I will return." Which once again shows that even though Joseph is really important, he's still only second in command. Pharaoh is still ultimately in control and ultimately decides what Joseph gets to do to an extent. Definitely gets to decide if he gets to leave or not. But he gets to leave because it's Joseph. He's done a lot for Pharaoh. He knows that. Pharaoh said, "Go up and bury your father as he made you swear to do." So Joseph went up to bury his father. All of Pharaoh's officials accompanied him, the dignitaries of his court and all the dignitaries of Egypt, besides all the members of Joseph's household and his brothers and those belonging to his father's household. Only their children and their flocks and herds were left in Goshen. So this is like a massive amount of people that are leaving. Chariots and horsemen also went up with him. It was a very large company. When they reached the threshing floor of Atad, I'm sure I butchered that pronunciation, near the Jordan, they lamented loudly and bitterly, and there Joseph observed a 7-day period of mourning for his father. When the Canaanites who lived there saw the mourning at the threshing floor, they said, "The Egyptians are holding a solemn ceremony of mourning." This is why that place near the Jordan is called Abel Mizraim. So Jacob's sons did as he commanded them. They carried him to the land of Canaan and buried him in the field of Machpelah near Mamre, which Abraham had bought as a burial place from Ephron the Hittite, along with the field. After burying his father, Joseph returned to Egypt, together with his brothers and all the others who had gone to bury his father. So all your homework is to listen to my video and take notes on 17.3. Same as you did with the blessings fulfilled. You'll take the notes, pause it as many times as you need to be able to take the notes, and then take a picture of it and attach it to LMS. That's it. That's due today. Give me a minute and I will explain the other stuff because I about got ahead of myself here. All right, so 17.3. Burial practices of the Israelites. Why did burial take place within 24 hours? Stinkiness, to put it bluntly. It's hot, so they bury it quick so it doesn't get stinky. How is the body prepared for burial? That's number 2 on 17.3. When death occurred, the oldest son closed the eyes of the dead person. From John 11:44, we infer that the mouth of the deceased were closed and the jaws were bound shut. I can't help but thinking of A Christmas Carol. Like I said, my favorite version of A Christmas Carol is the one by George C. Scott, but I've seen a couple that when Jacob Marley, the dead guy, shows up and they unwrap his face, his jaw just drops. Because as you decay, I guess all the ligaments and stuff that attach your lower jaw to your head